Welcome to Ties of Faith. My name is Christine Watkins, and I'm your host.
And I'm Frank Brilliant, your co-host.
Today we have in the garden Rosemary Medeiros, and she is a wife, a mother, a grandmother, an actress, and she works in ministry for people dealing with the beginning of life issues and end of life issues. Are you paying attention?
Huh? What? Yeah, oh yeah. Today's show's Sally Wilson, and she's going to talk about some nutritional information.
I give up. I'm going to go get Rosemary, not Sally, and I'll be right back.
Huh.
Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. How are you?
I don't know if it's safe, but
who's
I'm
that?
have you meet my friend Frank.
Well, hello.
Here.
Hi, my name is Frank Brilliant.
How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
nice
too.
To meet you. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Rosemary.
Okay, yeah, Rose, of course. Yeah.
We just met.
Well, Rosemary, you have quite a story, and it involves abortion and post-abortion healing, and it's a story of great difficulty and great hope. You gotta be kidding me.
Well, yeah, no, keep going.
Oh my gosh.
Great story, yeah.
And so, Rosemary, would you share what happened? How did you get pregnant? What happened when you did get pregnant? What went through your mind?
Well, I think everybody knows how I got pregnant. But basically, I was, raised in a really good Catholic, loving home, and I went to Catholic school for 12 years, and I promised myself that I would, graduate as a virgin, which I successfully did. And I had strict parents from Mexico, and very cultural, very loving, but very strict. So I ended up just, after graduation, I met my future husband, and the pressure was on. I was out of school, and I didn't want to lose him. He was a bad boy.
Oh, the pressure was on to have sex.
Yeah,
okay.
And
he was a bad boy.
Yeah, he had a lot of experience, and I didn't. And so, I just fell in love with him, and I didn't want to lose him. So I gave in, and I had premarital sex. And anyway, I got pregnant the very first time we had sex, and I was scared. I was scared to tell my parents. I was scared to tell especially my dad. I didn't want to disappoint them. I was a role model, I felt, and how dare I and how could I? And
how did your boyfriend feel about the pregnancy?
He, we were young. He didn't really say much. I mean, I made the decision, talking to some people. I didn't really have a lot of adult people to help me, so I didn't trust in God. I wasn't going to church in those times really diligently or anything. I kind of went astray, and my husband, my future husband, my boyfriend, ended up being my God, pretty much is what it was. Okay. And so I went to Planned Parenthood because it was really, a popular thing, and nobody thought anything of it. So I went there.
It was popular, meaning among your classmates?
Yeah, yeah. And I knew people who had abortions, and I thought, well, that would be what I needed to do.
High school friends?
Yeah, some high school friends. Anyway, I felt like a failure, and I ended up going to Planned Parenthood. And what happened there was really terrible. I mean, I felt alone. I wasn't numbed at all. They didn't numb me. And they took the baby, and I saw parts of the baby, being kind of vacuumed out. And I just remember walking out of there knowing that it had just changed my life, and I couldn't take it back. And I regretted every moment, from there. And anyway, it took about, I would say that having an abortion really affected my life in a very, very negative way, but I didn't know that. So how did it affect you in a negative way, and for how long were you affected? What happened to you? I got into a self-destructive mode.
For how long?
33 years. Yeah,
so
33 years.
So the abortion spurred a self-destructive mode of 33 years.
But I didn't know it. I got into drugs and alcohol. I got into dealing drugs. I look like that kind of person, right? And I got into, a lot of dangerous situations.
Were you trying to cover up for some pain inside? Was that it?
I didn't know it, but in retrospect, absolutely. I couldn't live with myself. I didn't know that it carried so much hardship on a woman, and on just the guilt of having done something to a baby that I didn't give a chance to live. It could have been somebody great, you know, and I took that baby's life.
Now, Rosemary, I'm a little surprised over here. I mean, you know, I am paying attention as much as any, you know, reasonably modern person would.
Yeah.
And, you know, 33 years from one event of destruction, that's shocking. I mean, isn't abortion, I mean, it's a baby, it's a physical issue, it's a problem like a lesion or a wart. You just remove it, you know, you're done. I mean, I was just over here, you know, Christine, looking up on my phone.
I heard.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, so I'm up here looking on the phone, and I just happened to find some research on the Planned Parenthood website, and it says right here, you know, emotional problems from abortion are rare and less frequent than actual childbirth. And they list credible research. They say anti-abortion people make up these conditions called post-abortion trauma, post-abortion syndrome, and the American Psychological and Psychiatric Associations do not even recognize these conditions. And one more point I'd like to make is 21% of American women have aborted, and if there were problems, there should be an epidemic. Is there an epidemic? I don't think so. It says right here on my phone. I'm confused. I'm sitting here on the brick wall. Can you help? I don't mean to be offensive, but can you help me understand?
If I say one thing about Planned Parenthood, I think it's not going to be nice.
Well, hold on, Rosemary.
Terrible.
This is not, you know, they have clear references. You know, it's not just Planned Parenthood.
I understand. But you know what? Abortion, it kills. It's murder. The devil, and I believe there is one, the devil lies. You know, he's a liar, he's a murderer, he's a thief. And he made me believe that my father would kick me out. He made me believe that I wasn't loved and that I made a horrible mistake and that I was the mistake and that I would disappoint, and there was no way I could live with that. And the truth is that I got pregnant again, and I went and I know. I got pregnant again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still no role model
you
advice.
didn't make the connection.
No, and I got pregnant again, but this time I was never ever going to go through that again. So I told my parents, and they absolutely embraced it. They loved me. They just loved me, and they couldn't wait to be grandparents. And that was just months after my abortion. So you could imagine the guilt, the sadness I felt for not trusting my parents the very first time, because they would have loved me through it, but the devil lied to me.
And I've done some research myself. There's a great website called the Elliott Institute, ELLIOTT Institute.
So I can get that on my phone too.
Yeah, you might look that up.
Okay.
And this has a compilation of the research that's been done with what happens to women and men after abortion, and it's pretty devastating. And so the facts aren't really out there. They aren't mentioned on that other website on Planned Parenthood that he looked up with one faulty study that.
I thank you for telling me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm big on the facts, you know, right here, I got my phone. And, you know, it says 25 years of abortion research, and the conclusions are that it's basically benign.
Wow. Well, that's
a quote right there. If you come on over here,
kidding.
Christine, I can show you.
Okay, look it up. You want to look up volumes of research, studies by people who are atheists, people who are pro-choice, just doing scientific research, the Elliott Institute. It's all there. It's all there.
It's an amazing, it's been an amazing journey for me, because 33 years of hell is what I call it, because it was. And I went to about, I don't know, 5 different cities and different priests in a different country to do the same confession over and over and over because I didn't feel forgiven. And I've spoken to many women who felt the same way.
And men
you
too.
know, and men. Well,
too.
that's another
They're half
story.
the
I mean,
equation.
yeah, my husband, who we just celebrated 34 years of marriage, the same one that I had the abortion with. We now have 4 kids and 4 grandkids, but that's been a blessing. But you know, my husband had to go through healing too, and he didn't realize why he felt the way he did for many years. So it affects us as a whole. It affects us together, apart, separate. It doesn't matter. It's what we do after the abortion because we stuff it down. We don't want to feel the pain, the guilt, the remorse. You can't take something like this back. And the fact that I didn't trust anybody, that was like the worst thing, is that I had nobody to turn to. And,
or you thought you had no one to turn to.
But I did.
Yeah, there are organizations out there that help all around the country,
Yeah.
and people are in a fix.
Absolutely.
And there's a 1,000 fears that can pile on top of someone's mind, and then after the dust clears, a lot of times the person in retrospect will realize, you know, I could have made that happen, or you know, at least I could have let my child live and given them up for adoption if I found absolutely no way to raise them. So there are other ways, but it doesn't often seem like it at the time.
Well, I didn't know I was going through a lot of issues, you know, alcohol, drugs, divorce. I divorced my husband, the same one I have now. I divorced him for 3 years, then became the addictions, and then the promiscuity, and I was always in search, you know, I was always in search. And then I got into New Age, and I got into, well, I got into a lot of things, very, very dangerous, very self-destructive. And one day I went to Mexico, and I didn't know much about my Catholic, I knew about my Catholic upbringing. I didn't know about adoration as much as I should, but I didn't know what it was. I just heard about it, and I walked in, and at 5 in the morning they had Jesus on the altar. So I sat there and I said, well, I'm supposed to be talking to you, so let me talk to you. So I did. I just sat there and I said, you know, this is boring. Look how pretty these statues are. You know, this is really a nice chapel. And then all of a sudden I heard this man's voice, and it was this booming, booming voice.
Was it your phone?
It wasn't my phone.
Huh.
But I knew it was a man's voice that was inside, because I turned around and there was only 3 or 4 women inside in the back.
You probably didn't even have cell phone reception there.
Oh, no, I actually, well, I never tried. Don't get me in trouble now, but I'll tell you, I heard this voice say, prostrate yourself. And I knew what that word meant. And so I ignored it. And then I heard it again, prostrate yourself. And I thought, who is speaking? You know, it was so real and so loud. And then I ignored it, and I said, I started arguing with this voice and said, I'm not prostrating myself in front of these women in this chapel. There's no way. Well, then I started just wondering who that voice was, and I heard it again. But this time I heard it, and it was so loud that there was no way I could ignore it. And it's prostrate yourself. So I picked up my purse, and I literally ran to the corner of the chapel, and I prostrated myself. And the minute that I adored Jesus in that way and put my nose to that marble floor, my whole body started shaking, and I started crying uncontrollably. And I didn't know what was happening to me, but I knew it was physical, and I knew it was Jesus. And so it was so much crying that there was a puddle of tears under me. And then when my body just calmed down, I just kind of fell into it, and I heard the words from the same voice, I forgive you, now go forgive yourself. Oh. And it was powerful. And at that moment, I kind of knew what Jesus was asking me to do. But he still knew. Did you know what he
was referring to when he said,
yes.
You knew exactly what it was, because that was your deepest regret.
Deepest regret that if I knew better at that point, I would have known that he forgave me the very first time I went to reconciliation or confession and said I was sorry for my sin, because I was deeply sorry for having done that to my baby, to a gift from God. And so when I walked out of the chapel, pretty shocked, I asked Jesus, what do you want me to do? And when I looked up to the sky, in this beautiful blue sky, I looked up, and there was a beautiful cloud that was in the form of a fetus. And it was so real. And then I kept looking, and that's when I took out my iPhone. And I whipped it out, and I started taking pictures, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. As a matter of fact, I brought some pictures that I show some people when I talk at parishes and things like that. Would you like to see it?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially if it's digital.
Yeah. Actually, here, do you see that?
Hey, do you want to just text it to him?
I will. So let me just do that for you.
You got it?
Okay. You got it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Quite a picture.
Wow.
it is. And
Quite a
there's
picture.
3 of them, and one's bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you got the
You know,
biggest
normally
one.
when people who are spiritual or religious say they see things in the clouds and they show me a picture, I'll look at it and say, okay, I'm going to try to look impressed. I can't even see what you're talking about in this picture. You say it's Jesus. I say it looks like a puffy cloud. And I get embarrassed. This was probably the first time when I looked at a picture and I thought, darn it, that does look like a fetus.
Yeah, it's, and somebody had given me a little picture of not a picture, a little rubber baby when I was giving one of my parish talks. And I taped it right above the cloud, and it's identical to, when I had the abortion and the picture
a
of
rubber
the
fetus, you mean?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and so I knew at that moment that God was confirming to me that I needed to go deal with my abortion. So when I got back to the United States,
So that was a call of healing.
I started listening to Catholic radio, to 1260 AM, which is our Catholic radio here in the Sacramento area, in the Bay Area. And as I was listening to it, I kept hearing Rachel's Vineyard, Rachel's Vineyard, Rachel's Vineyard.
I think I put that ad on
It was
Immaculate
you,
Heart
huh?
Radio.
And then it was like, call this number if you've had the pain of abortion. And so I called it, and one thing led to another, and I talked to my husband about it, and he wanted to go to support me. Yes. But guess what happened? I mean, I think he got this humongous healing, because men go through that pain and suffering as well by doing something that, that you don't think a man would go through, but to destroy your child or the innocence in the child's life. I think that you might hide it for 33 years, but it's going to eventually come out in one way or another, negative or positive.
And what retreat did you go to?
I went to Rachel's Vineyard.
Rachel's
Yeah,
Vineyard.
I did, in the Napa area, but they're all over. And I also went to a Bible study group that specifically addresses a little more of the healing, because when you have other people that feel exactly like you did, see, people don't like to talk about abortion, and they don't like to talk about what they did. So when you get a group of people and you get to heal from it by just saying, oh my gosh, you understand, you feel the same way, then it's just a world of grace that's been given to you to share and to,
Are you looking up Rachel's Vineyard?
No, I just got a message from the Planned Parenthood people, and they do not support Rachel's Vineyard. I just, was curious. I thought I'd ask them, and they said it's not necessary given the benign nature of abortion. Just, whatever, just FYI, just.
Benign.
They would say that.
Just so you know, the controversy's alive and well, and not everybody buys into, the whole malignant nature of abortion.
Right.
Let me just put it that way.
It's not a blob of tissue. I know that a lot of people say, well, it's just a blob of tissue, but that heart starts beating, and it's a life. You know what? Sometimes God could work a miracle in your life like he did me, and in a split second just change your whole life and guide you. And
that's quick.
It's funny when you're in that much pain and you don't even know what you're in pain about. When you pick up the phone, it's like, who do you really call? Who do you call? I had nobody to call. Nobody would understand me.
Facebook friends, Twitter followers, no?
No, and you don't want people to know that you've done. Now the whole world knows, because I go around talking about this to try to save babies and try to let people know that the devil is a liar and a thief and a murderer, and he'll tell you everything why you can't have that baby.
And everything why abortion is going to be good.
Yeah, why it's going to be okay, and women's rights.
And you're going to feel better, and you're going to get over it right away. And people do feel that way. Sometimes they feel a lot of relief, and it can hit years later.
It does. And I got to tell my other 4 kids, too, and that they had an older brother. And I know that people are like, oh, yeah, right, but it was a baby. And I made the decision to destroy that baby. So it was inside of me pumping my blood in the heart. So honestly, I took that life from that baby.
How did your kids react when you told them?
Well, you know, it's sadly to say that a lot of their friends, some of their friends have had abortions. And so because I wasn't so connected to God at that time when they were growing up as much, I lied for 33 years, so there was no role model in that way. So now I'm talking a lot about it where they understand. So it's a progress. It's a progress. It's a healing for all of us. You know, a process, yeah.
Plus now you have internet searches so you can get a lot more data, be much more well informed on the situation.
Yeah, be careful with the internet, you over there.
I mean, if I just, you know, type in abortion on an internet search, will that be useful?
No.
No.
No?
No.
Huh.
No, but you know what? If you go to rachelsvineyard.org and you want to find out, find out about how to heal and the statistics, the real ones, the real facts on abortion, go there and go to the Elliott Institute and you'll learn so much. And you'll learn if you've had an abortion, if you're a man or a woman who's been through that experience, then you may feel that there's a wound to the soul somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe if you look at your life before the abortion or abortions and then you look at your life afterwards, you might find that you were just a little bit different. And you thought, well, maybe I'm experiencing this depression, anxiety, this substance abuse, so sexual issues, so many things can be wrapped around it, hardness of heart, feeling alone, you name it, it can happen.
One thing, Christine, I just did a quick search and Rachel's Vineyard comes up as like, you know, on page 2 of the Planned Parenthood's like number 1. Is there like some sort of funding issue here, or search engine ranking is a big factor in terms of the amount of people you're going to reach?
Right. Well, it's a huge, huge organization with a lot of power.
Okay.
A lot of power. But if you want healing, there's healing out there. And if you want, before you decide to have an abortion, if you're leaning that way, you might want to look at some of the statistics and see what it can do to a man and to a woman. And ultimately, it can deeply, deeply scar someone. But the hope is, and the hope is always there, and the hope is very real, that Jesus will do what?
Oh, just transform your life. I mean, I never, from a person who never thought would be telling that I've had an abortion, from the remorse and guilt and shame, because it's a lot shame. I am now, you know, speaking at parishes. I am getting the word out. I am talking about my abortion. I work with After the Choice Ministries at the Oakland Diocese, so I'm part of their the diocese, and I'm really letting people know that if you've had an abortion, there's healing and it's okay. You know, it's all right. The shame is there, yes, but there's healing from that, and it's beautiful.
And what does the Lord want to tell people, and what did the Lord tell you about it?
I forgive you. I forgive you, and I love you.
Amen. Amen. Rosemary, thank you so much.
God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was good seeing you. I'm going to take that phone out of your hand.
You taught me a lot, Rosemary, I have to admit.
Well, thank you, Frank.
There's more to life than internet searches.
Yeah, there is.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. God bless.
Thank you.
She was lovely.
Beautiful person, Christine.
Yeah. Do you think, Frank, with the phone, you were just a little disruptive? Do you think? I mean,
You know, so are you saying don't bring it on the show?
Well, you know, it might be good that this is the very last time you bring your cell phone on the show. I know you're very attached to it. I know that you prefer it to prayer, and adoration is out of the picture because you need noise and you feel disconnected without your phone, but maybe,
sorry, yeah, that's, no. Sorry, total apology. You know,
And remember, don't forget those ties of faith.